The language between us. The first word he taught me was saudade, not Mandarin, Portuguese, his language, not the one I was supposed to be teaching him, and he offered it unprompted on the third session, while I was conjugating verbs on a notepad, and he was supposed to be practicing tones. It doesn't translate, he said. Not really. It means a longing for something you loved and lost, or maybe never had. A specific kind of ache that also feels like tenderness. He looked at the word he'd written on the corner of my notepad. We have a whole word for it. English doesn't. I looked at him across my coffee table, surrounded by flashcards and takeout containers, and thought, I have a PhD in linguistics, and I have never once considered that the gaps between languages were the most interesting part. Say it again, I said. He said it, saudade, soft at the edges, the way Portuguese was soft at the edges, like a language that had decided long ago that harshness wasn't worth the effort. Again, I said. He looked at me with something that might have been amusement. I thought I was the student. You are, I said. I'm also studying. My name is Gia. I am 29 years old, and I'm finishing a linguistics dissertation on tonal language, acquisition in adult learners, which means I think about the mechanics of communication, approximately 18 hours a day, and have been told, more than once, that I am academic about everything, including things that should not be academic. The language exchange program was my department's community outreach initiative, and I signed up because I needed adult Mandarin learners for my research, and this was efficient. I did not sign up because I wanted connection or conversation or anything that required me to be less than professionally engaged. Then they matched me with Marco. Marco was 33, a chef who had moved from Porto to this city a decade ago and had learned English with the fluency of someone who was good at most things. He tried. He wanted Mandarin because half his kitchen staff spoke it as a first language, and he said on our first session, tired of communicating through intermediaries with people he spent 12 hours a day beside. I want to talk to them, he said. Not about orders, just talk. I found that unexpectedly moving and filed it away as professionally irrelevant. He was a quick study. Tones came to him faster than they came to most beginners, which I told him was unusual, and he received with the particular lack of vanity of someone who had genuinely not expected the compliment. He practiced between sessions. He arrived with questions written in a small notebook he kept in his jacket pocket, and the questions were always the right ones, not the grammar mechanics that most learners fixated on, but the why underneath the grammar. Why does this tone change the meaning so completely? Why does context carry so much more weight in Mandarin than in English? Why does this word have no equivalent? Because the concept doesn't exist the same way in the culture, I told him. Language and culture are inseparable. You can't fully understand one without living inside the other. He considered that with the focused attention he gave everything. So to really learn a language, you have to learn how to think differently. Yes, I said. Exactly that. He wrote something in his notebook. I found myself wanting to know what. By the sixth session, the format had quietly shifted. We still did the structured lesson, tones, vocabulary, short conversational exchanges that I corrected with the clinical precision of someone who had spent years studying exactly how adult learners made errors. But somewhere in the middle of each session, there was a turn, unmarked and unplanned, where the lesson stopped and we just talked about his kitchen and the particular ecosystem of a restaurant at service. The way 12 people moved through a small space with an efficiency that required total trust, about my research and the question at the center of it, that I had not admitted to my advisor yet, that I wasn't sure the acquisition data was telling me what I thought I wanted to prove. What did you want to prove? He said. That adult learners could achieve native-level tonal accuracy with sufficient structured input. I looked at my notes. The data suggests the structure matters less than I thought. The relationships matter more. The relationships with who? With the language. With the people who speak it. I paused. With having a reason that isn't academic. He was quiet for a moment. What's your reason? I looked up. For Mandarin, he said. Your first language? My grandmother's, I said. She came from Guangzhou. She spoke Mandarin with me until I was 5, and then she got sick, and there were years when I didn't. I stopped. I came back to it academically. I told myself that was enough. Is it? I looked at him across the coffee table with its flashcards and empty takeout containers and the small notebook he always kept close. and felt something move in me that my academic framework had no category for. I'm starting to think not, I said. The 8th session he brought food. Not takeout. His food. Containers from the restaurant, labeled in his careful handwriting, things he'd made that afternoon before coming. He set them on the coffee table without ceremony and said, I wanted you to try something. I looked at the containers. We don't usually. I know, he said. Try it anyway. I tried it. It was extraordinary, simple and precise, and full of a confidence that didn't need to announce itself, like everything else about him. What is this? I said. Arroz de pato, he said. Duck rice. My grandmother's recipe. He opened another container. I changed 2 things. Don't tell her. She's still alive? Very much. He smiled, a full one, which he didn't deploy often and which was therefore significant every time. She calls every Sunday and asks if I found someone, and I tell her, I'm very busy, and she tells me that's not an answer. I laughed. It came out more genuine than I intended. What do you tell her? I said. The truth, he said. That I've been here 10 years and I still feel like I'm speaking a language everyone else learned before I arrived. He looked at the food rather than me. Not English. I mean, the other language. The one for. He stopped, made a small gesture that covered it. Connection, I said. He looked up. Yes. We were quiet. Outside my apartment, the city did its evening things, traffic, voices, the specific urban frequency I'd stopped hearing years ago. In here it was very still. Saudade, I said. He looked at me with something I felt in my sternum. Yes, he said softly. That. I want to tell you I handled the next part with academic composure. I did not. What happened was, he reached across the coffee table to move a flashcard and his hand landed near mine and neither of us moved in the distance. Between our hands was approximately 3 inches and I, Gia, who had a PhD in the mechanics of human communication and had written 40 pages on the semiotics of nonverbal language, could not think of a single thing to say. He looked at our hands, then at me. I've been practicing something, he said. For this session. What? He reached into the small notebook and found the page. He'd written Mandarin, characters in the careful print of someone who had been working on this, not typed. Handwritten, the strokes deliberate and slightly imperfect in the way of genuine effort. He read it aloud. His tones were not perfect. The third one fell slightly flat and the rhythm was a student's rhythm, careful and measured. But the meaning was exact. The meaning was, I think I have been learning your language because I wanted to understand how you think. I stared at him. The tones, I said. My voice came out strange. I know they're not right. The third one was flat. I know. The meaning was, I stopped. I know what the meaning was, he said. He was looking at me steadily in the way he looked at things he was serious about. I wanted to say it in your language. It seemed right. I looked at the characters he'd written in his notebook, the hours of practice that represented, the specific intentionality of someone who had decided this was worth doing carefully. I picked up my pen and wrote something on the corner of the notepad, passed it across the table. He looked at it, 1 word in Portuguese, which I had been quietly teaching myself for 6 weeks, from a textbook I had not mentioned, because I was academic about everything, including things that should not be academic, and I had decided that learning his language was research. Saudade. I had written, I think I have been feeling this, for something I did not know I was missing. He read it again. When he looked up, his expression was the one. I had been cataloging for 2 months without admitting I was cataloging it. Open and certain and warm in a way that had nothing to do with the temperature of the room. He reached across the coffee table, not for a flashcard this time, and his hand covered mine. Your pronunciation, he said. His thumb moved across my knuckles, of saudade. The first time I taught you. He paused. It was perfect. First try. I'd been practicing, I said. I know, he said. I could tell. His hand was warm over mine, and the flashcards were scattered between us, and the notebook was open to the page where he had written my language in. His handwriting, and outside, the city continued its indifferent evening, and inside everything was very still and very clear. I have a hypothesis, I said. His mouth moved. Tell me. That the most important things don't translate, I said. That there's a reason every language has words the others don't. Because some things can only be said from inside the experience of them. I looked at our hands. And the only way to understand them is to live inside them, he said. My words from weeks ago. He'd kept them. Yes, I said. He turned my hand over so our palms met, a question and an answer at the same time. I thought about my grandmother's voice, speaking Mandarin in a kitchen that smelled like ginger, about the gap in my research that was actually the most important finding, about a word for longing that was also tenderness, offered by a stranger on a Tuesday evening over takeout containers that had been quietly rearranging something in me ever since. Marco, I said. Gia, he said. Outside the city, inside the particular silence of two people who had been learning each other's language for months and had finally, in the same moment, understood what they were actually studying. His hand in mine, the flashcards between us, unnecessary now, the notebook open to the page where he had written, I wanted to understand how you think in careful, imperfect strokes. I leaned across the coffee table and closed the distance that had been exactly 3 inches for approximately 20 minutes, and when I did, he met me exactly halfway, and it was, like all the best communication, both perfectly clear and somehow more than I had words for. In any language, Finn,